Hello, my name is Amanda Jones, and in this video I'm going to show you some subtraction algorithms. Now we all have our subtraction algorithm, our standard subtraction algorithm that you probably know and love, but it is useful to learn some different algorithms just to develop some flexibility and some understanding of ours and even appreciation. And also, you're probably not going to start with our standard algorithm with elementary students when they're first learning to subtract. What you're going to start with is something called a partial difference. So we're going to do a problem with a partial difference. In this one, we're going to have no regrouping, just to start simple. So 468 minus 335. We're going to do a partial difference. Okay, so we set these up vertically. And just like partial sums, we're going to subtract and keep it in that place value. And we're going to view the digits in their place value. So not just as with our standard, we always think of them kind of as ones, but we're going to really focus on keeping it true to the place value that it's in. So right here we have ones. Okay, so 8 minus 5 is 3, and we're going to keep that 3 in the ones place. But then we move over here, this is not 6 minus 3, this is 60 minus 30. And so we're in the tens place now, and 60 minus 30 is 30. And so we're gonna stay true to that and put that 30 just right down below. Okay, and then moving to the 4 minus 3, it's 400 minus 300. So 400 minus 300 is 100. And then we do add our differences together. So these are all come from subtraction, then we're going to add them together. It's a little bit hard to kind of get our minds around, but think of it with your manipulatives, okay? So you have your 468 modeled with your 4 flats, your 6 rods, and your 8 units. And then we take away 5 units, and we take away 3 rods, and we take away 3 flats. And then what do we do with what we have left? We add them together and we count them up. So I think that's the best way to kind of visualize that and do it for your students and see why we add at the end even though we've been subtracting. Okay, so we will add 3, 3, and 1. All right. But what do we do when, and of course we would do a lot of practice with this before moving on, but what do we do when we do need to, borrow from another place value, or we don't have enough units to subtract 5 units, for example? So we'll do another problem. Let's do 325 minus 168. Okay. I'll set that up again vertically. All right, so in this case, we don't have enough units to take away 8. So if we did this with our manipulatives, we would have 3 flats, 2 rods, 5 units. We need to take away 8 units, and we don't have enough. And so one way to kind of think through this with your students is, well, how many do we have left to subtract? So if we can take 5, but how many would we still need to subtract? Well, we need 3 more to subtract. So we're not thinking negative. I wouldn't use the word negative with elementary students until they're ready to hear that in the curriculum and standards, but we do have 3 left to subtract, and we can represent that with a minus 3. Okay, so we still have 3 left to subtract. All right, now we're taking 6 rods or 6 tens from 2 tens. Well, we can take away the 2, but then we still have 40 left to subtract, 4 rods that are not there for us to take away. So we'll handle that later. Let's see if we can get more hundreds there and handle it later, but we can at least take away the 2 that we have, and we have 4 left to subtract. So we'll indicate that. All right. And then we have 3 flats or 3 hundreds, and we need to take away 1 of those. We can do that and we would have 2 left over. So we would have 200 when we do that. And we are adding, okay? What we are subtracting because we have this 40 that's left to subtract and this 3 that's left to subtract. And I like to go this way. So I like to take care of this 40 first. And so 200 minus 40, we should be able to do that without any algorithms. We take away 40 from 100 and it's 60. So we know this is 160, okay? But we still haven't taken care of the 3 that we have left to subtract. So I'll indicate that. And then 160 minus 3, this is another one that we shouldn't need an algorithm to accomplish. We should be able to do this in our heads. It's 157. All right, so a little bit more challenging when we have these minus or left to subtract values, but a good way to kind of introduce and really get down to what subtraction is doing and what do we need to do when we can't take away all that we need to. Okay, let me show you 2 more algorithms. Our standard algorithm, just to connect it, I will put it beside, I'll do the 325 minus 168, and I'll put it right here so you can compare. Is more efficient. It may be easier for you to understand, but think about if you are just learning subtraction, what might be easier and what might be easier if you're putting your hands on manipulatives. This might be something that some students, it's a little bit more reachable for them. Okay, so this is our standard subtraction algorithm. I'm gonna do 5 minus 8, well, we don't have 8 ones to take away. We just have 5. And so what we can do is we can turn and go, oh, well, I do have 2 rods, or I have 2 tens. Let me break down one of those tens and put them in with the ones. So I'm going to take away, you can actually do this physically with your manipulatives. Take one of your rods and trade it in for 10 units. So now we just have 1 rod. And we take those 10 units and we add it to the 5 units that we already have. So we have the 15 units, okay? So we can do this now that we have enough. We can take 8 from 15. But now we move to our tens place and I can't take 6 from 1. And so I turn to my flats or my hundreds and I say, well, I have 3 and I can take away one of these and break it down into the 10 rods or the 10 tens. And so I no longer have 3, I have 2 hundreds and I've moved 10 of those rods that are now 10, so 10 tens over to my tens place. So now I have the 10 rods plus the 1 that I already had. So now I have 11 of those rods, 11 tens, 11 minus 6 is 5. I'm able to do that, and then 2 minus 1. So that's our standard. So this just takes care of it kind of at the end. It is taking that 200 and breaking it down to the 1. You know, you kind of hopefully can see the connection between the two for these. Now, one more really quick, it's worth mentioning, but it's really just a variation on our standard algorithm. And it's called trade first. And this is just where we take care of any regrouping or trading in before we do the actual subtraction. So do that. Okay, so right here we go ahead and see that 5 is less than 8, so I'm going to have to do some borrowing. So I'm going to take it from the 2, and I'm going to take the 10 and move it over here. 10 plus 5 is 15. And before I do the subtraction, I'm going to just check everything else. So 1 is less than 6, so let me go ahead and borrow this. And now I'm going to have 11 over here because I'll have the 1 and then the 10 that I stole or traded for the 3. Okay. And then 2 is greater than 1, so we're good. So 15 minus 8, 11 minus 6, and 2 minus 1. So just a variation on the standard. I tend to do this especially when I have a lot of zeros in my top number, my larger, or the number that I'm subtracting from. So I tend to do that, use the trade first for that. So these are our three subtraction algorithms. Thank you.